Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Another beautiful day. This is one of my favorite spots. There's all kinds of trails around here. Just a blast to ride around. We're looking at the BULLS E-STREAM, which is talking about Brose drive system, EVO 45 kilometers per hour, roughly 28 miles per hour AM, all mountain, 150 millimeter travel on this air suspension from RockShox. We got your standard compression, your rebound, same thing back here. Really nice blacked out. I like the stanchion color. Boost, so wider hub spacing, very sturdy thru-axles, 15 millimeters up front with quick release, 12 millimeters in the rear with quick release. Check that out. It's kind of a maxle, so it threads into the other side. Extra large 203 millimeter hydraulic disc brakes, quad piston calipers. See how there are 2 circles there on each side? So that's 4 pistons total, with these great Magura MT5 disc brake levers, adjustable reach. These ones actually, a little bit lighter weight, and the way they actuate is very fluid. It's very consistent. I like Magura quite a bit. I got to go to one of their press camps a while back. I mean, I like Shimano. I see Shimano on a lot of stuff, but their brakes, that's one of the areas that they really focus on. And with those higher end rotors, nicer hardware on this bike, you're reducing some of the weight, but you're also spreading out the surface area on the pads, and you're getting a better mechanical advantage to handle the plus size tires. These are 27.5 by 2.8 Schwabe Knobby Nick. They're using the Addix Speed Grip, so maybe they're supposed to help you grip when you're going faster. I think they're going to be a little, maybe more resilient than Magic Mary or something that's a little bit softer rubber. Evo Evolution APX reinforced tubeless ready. These are 35 millimeter rims, a little bit wider, black spokes, black rims, 13 gauge in the rear. Most of the BULLS bikes use thicker rear spokes, which is nice. Gives you a little bit more stability, a little bit sturdier, maybe not quite as much flex as up front, but a lot of times your weight is kind of on the rear if you're climbing, especially. The front, again, they're boost, so it's slightly wider on those hubs, and that gives you a sturdier bracing angle on the spokes as well. So these bikes are set up really well, in my opinion, and we've got a rear suspension design that helps the wheel to travel more vertically and handle bumpy terrain a little bit better. It's not just a fully integrated swing arm, and nice Velo plastic slap guard. That's something that I like, that they keep kind of a lot of attention to the details on these bikes, including an alloy chainring guard up front. And you can see there's actually a triple, but this is actually going to be a double. So it'd be 11 to 40 in the rear with Shimano Deore XT. We got that Shadow Plus one-way clutch here. Helps to tighten the springs so you won't get as much chain bounce. Very handy at high speed and off-road, which is what this bike is all about. So I like that. But you can also ride with it down if you're just maybe not off-road, not going as fast. I don't know. It's an interesting option. Actually, if you're doing some service on the rear wheel, that's a nice thing to sort of disengage, so it makes it a little bit easier to push this thing out of the way and get the wheel off. So that's cool. 30 to 44 chain rings up front, 11 to 40 in the rear, so you get a really wide spread to handle a bunch of different speeds with this bike, depending on what level of assist and how hard you're pedaling. Love the way the motor is integrated. This is the Brose TF motor. It has a Gates carbon belt drive inside, so it's not just gears on gears. It feels a little smoother and more fluid when you're pedaling. I like how compact this thing is. It's not the lightest of the Brose motors. The S and the new S Mag Magnesium are lighter. This is 8.5 pounds compared to the Bosch Performance Line motors, which we happen to have over here. This is another BULLS model, EVO, talking about integrated battery design. That's what the EVO means. But this one's using the power tube and the Bosch Performance Line CX. See how much bigger this motor is? Also 8.8 pounds. Got this nice shield and everything. And some of it's the color. This one's all silver versus this one being all black. But yeah, I feel in both cases, the weight is low, it's centered, the integrated battery designs look nice, and this one has this rubber protective coating both on the base of the battery and a little bit on the motor, as well as an alloy shield. So ground clearance is pretty good, but you've also got protection. I love that they include a kickstand At least I think that's the case. This one has it. You know, these are demo models, and sometimes they're slightly different than what you see in real life, and I welcome your feedback in that case. A 20 millimeter provision, so you could add your own. And for a bike like this that you might be using to commute to work or commute to the trail and get there a little bit faster if the sun's setting early like it does in the fall and the winter, it's nice. I like the higher speed bikes. You know, you can easily go over 28 miles per hour just descending, especially on terrain like this. So if it helps you go a little bit faster on the flats or maybe on the road, why not, you know? I suppose on the flat trails, you do want to be careful, and depending on the location, they might not allow class 3 electric bikes. So I like to think about that and just be respectful and kind of follow the rules and stuff. So coming back to the bike, we talked about the plus size tires, the boost hub spacing, a little bit of this suspension design here. 4 frame sizes on this bike, which is really nice. Can dial in fit, and I think we're looking at the 44 here, so for your reference. 30.9 millimeter seat post diameter. We've got this Rampage. It's sort of a Bulls branded, but it's Celly Royale. And this saddle kind of curves a little bit, slopes. It reminds me of like some of the Physic saddles. It's maybe doesn't just doesn't fit my body perfectly. Ergon locking grips. They're the sort of like flat ones, but Ergon does a pretty good job, and it's a little bit more of a premium part. And then we've got Monkey Link here. So we've got that 0 degree stem, fairly short, with electronic wiring, so you can actually run some lights off of the higher capacity battery. Same thing back here. And then provisions for a bottle cage down at the bottom. So I'm going to pull off the Monkey Link from this bike, so we're having fun with it. It didn't look like the other one has Monkey Link for the bottle. It would look like this. See that little plastic thing? And it's 45 bucks for that bottle, but it seems like it's made all right. And then here's a little magnetic rear light. If you get these lights, it's really neat because they run off the main battery. Let's see if I can get this off with one hand. There we go. But they're also a little bit more pricey. It's 170 bucks for this set. And I think they have some fenders and stuff in Europe that you can also look into. I wonder if maybe this one doesn't have the magnetic interface set up quite right. Like I said, demo bike, doing the best we can here. There we go, at least the headlight's on there. And the headlight's cool because it sort of points where you steer. The only thing is you can't really aim it. There's no mounting bracket that like pivots. I love that it's not down here on the suspension. It stays pretty clear of the wires just naturally. But again, can't really aim it up or down. And so this bike, see how it's sort of like, I don't know, I feel like it points up a little bit more. But if you had a stem that was even higher angle, it would point up quite a bit. And that might be part of why they do the 0 degree rise. But some of it's the geometry. I mean, the handlebars are back a little bit. Your body weight is kept back. And if you're descending, that might keep your body a little bit more upright. So it's sort of an American style all-mountain design. It means you can climb, you can descend. You're not going to get very much deflection with these bigger tires. There's a lot of float, traction, and comfort that you get with a bike like this. There's just there are not very many companies making like speed pedelec mountain bikes because of like maybe the legal ramifications, but there are places like off-highway vehicle trails and stuff or private property where this thing is just a blast. Now, you're not necessarily going to climb at 28 miles per hour. It's still going to be kind of limited that way, but you do get up to 90 newton meters of torque, so it's very powerful. 250 watt to 530 output. It's measuring your rear wheel speed with a little magnet over there and a sensor, pedal cadence and pedal torque. There's no shift detection like Bosch, but it's very dynamic, it's fluid, and it uses these standard size chain rings, which is kind of nice. You don't have like a reduction gearing system. And then the battery pack here, it's definitely higher capacity. So this is a 37 volt, 17.5 amp hour for roughly 650 watt hours. It looks like it's keyed by Abus. And I'm going to try to show you this. Be a little precarious with the bike standing up. Oh, and there's like a magnetic charging port down here. See this thing? There's no leash on this, so be careful. You could easily set it down and forget it. But there's the charging port, so you can charge when it's on the bike. And I should probably show you the charger while we're on this topic. Here it is. Pretty nice. 5 amp, much faster than some of the other chargers, but a little bit heavier and bulkier. It's 5 pounds. It's metallic casing, got a little fan built in. Just maybe not the kind of charger I want to toss in my backpack. But then again, you've got a high capacity battery, so do you really need to charge very frequently? Maybe not. Okay, this is going to be a little sketchy, so I want to unlock it, but There it is. Okay, so we unlocked it, but I've been careful to hold it right here because see, like, it just sort of falls out. There isn't a stepped release the way that Bosch has with their power tube. So just be careful. I mean, these are expensive. Ideally, you'd want to store this in a cool, dry location. Keep it at roughly 50% if you haven't used it for a while, or if you're planning to just store the bike for the winter. See how there are two of those, like Energy Bus, Rosenberger interfaces? You can use either one of those. One of them is sort of used to connect to the bike right there, and the other one is for that charging port. So they had to do two of them so you could charge the battery while it's on the bike. And I think the position of that interface is pretty good. It's sort of clear of the crank arm, and then again, that cover is decent. This is ingress protected, meaning like dust and water and stuff are going to be kept out. It's not quite as vulnerable as some electronics that you might see from other companies. So I like that. Same thing with the motor. And there's another look inside the down tube. Interesting, there's like stickers there. Maybe that's meant to reduce rattling noise. Okay, it's a fairly heavy pack. Oh boy, like 7.1 pounds. Thank goodness it went in. Great, and you can hear it click, so I'm like feeling pretty confident that that's not gonna fall out while we're riding. You know, BULLS is a company that's from Germany. It's like a dealer manufacturer partnership, it seems like. So they pick out parts and they build bikes based on what the dealers are requesting, and it seems like there's more collaboration and choosing how each bike is set up. This bike hasn't changed a whole lot since the last time I reviewed it, but it is neat to see Monkey Link in action. I hadn't really looked at that as closely, and I mean, doesn't really need to change that much, like little things here and there. It's just great that you got several frame sizes. It's awesome that actually comes at a decent price point for what it is, in my opinion, and that you get the 2-year comprehensive warranty from this company along with 5 years on the frame. Sort of what you'd expect. You know, it's a premium company. Like, these guys do a good job. I'm going to jump into the display system now. So we do have a little like LED readout on the batteries. You can see how full that is, whether it's on or off the bike, which is handy in case you're storing them separately. Maybe you keep the bike in the garage and then charge inside. There's a power button on top of this display, so I'm just kind of messing with that. See, it went black, and then press it again, it comes right back to life. This is transflective, so it actually reflects sunlight, and it also is backlit. So if we were in a darker location, I press that little light button and it lights up from behind. Walk mode, which you can hold, and then the bike will push itself, which is really handy if you get a flat tire, or maybe you're just on a section of trail that's like not really rideable at your skill level, or maybe the front wheel's starting to come up. You can get some help pushing this bike, and that's awesome because it's like 55 pounds, so it's a little bit heavier, full suspension, boost, all the stuff we talked about before. Plus and minus, so that just raises your assist level. There's an empty block right now, but you can go all the way up to 4 blocks. So each one of those gives you a little bit more power. And then we've got speed in the middle right now. It's in miles per hour, but I think you can change that by holding the light button for a few seconds. There we go, and then you can click up or down, so kilometers to miles, like that. For a display with so few buttons, like some of those little tips and stuff are nice to figure out. And then we've got that same battery infographic, five little bars to give you 20% steps, some feedback on that. And that's kind of it, right? I think that's a pretty good overview, except there is a little micro USB port on the base, and that's nice if you're going for a longer ride. Maybe you're using Strava, like a GPS, or maybe a phone for music or something like that. It's cool to be able to tap into that. And then just the size of this display, it's not big, it's not in the way. This bike doesn't stand out a whole lot, and the motor is a little bit quieter than some of the other ones, especially like the S and the S Mag from Brose. I think Brose tends to be quieter in general, but this motor in particular is a little bit on the quieter side. So yeah, very cool. I'm gonna put the charger in my backpack and we'll do a little riding. Okay guys, I've challenged Fernando to a little race. I'm on the Class 1 650 EVO AM4. It's got the Bosch CX, high torque, great performance from this thing, but 20-mile-per-hour cutoff. He's on the E-Stream EVO. This is the 45, so let's do it, man. I'm gonna take off. I'll be in the highest level of assist, turbo. I'll just show you guys what this looks like. We are climbing a bit of a hill. Go for it. So far, I'm beating him. Oh boy. Now he's taking off, and I'm limited. I'm at that 32 kilometers per hour. That's the max speed on the Class 1. So both of these have the nice plus size tires, very stable. I love that that one, actually they both have monkey link, so you can wire in the lights and stuff, run off that big battery. This bike has a 500 watt hour battery roughly. That one has 650 watt hours, so a little bit higher capacity, which is nice if you're going above 20 miles per hour. Just get that wind resistance and stuff. Kind of reduces your efficiency and drains the battery. I've heard exponentially when you're above 20 miles per hour, just because of that air resistance. So there he is, taking laps at the finish line. Oh, you're gonna go back and beat me again, huh? Very nice, man.
All right.
Oh, you're doing great. And that one has the two huge 203 millimeter hydraulic disc brakes, quad piston calipers. That's what you want when you're going fast, or if you're going down a big hill, which is what we're about to do here. Again, it's one of the only Class 3 electric bikes that's full suspension that I'm aware of. Very nice. Okay guys, from here you can see the rear suspension. I'm on pavement, and the idea is to just go fast and to give you a close-up of that motor without a whole lot of trail noise, so you can see how responsive the motor it is. It definitely ramps up as you pedal. It's very dynamic, feels fluid, more than just like on or off. And that's nice when you're riding off-road. In this case, when I'm riding faster, sometimes in the highest level of assist, it's like I'd kind of like it to be a little bit more constant, because there's a bit of surge that happens. But, you know, it's interesting being on sort of a longer travel, all-mountain speed pedelec. This thing is just so unique. So up to 90 newton meters of torque out of that motor, 250 all the way up to 530 watts. And then we have a 30 to 44 tooth double chainring up front. This is kind of a pre-production bike, so there's actually a triple, and that's not going to be the case. Deore XT derailleur, Deore XT in the rear with the Shadow Plus, 11 to 40 teeth back here, which is kind of unique. Usually I see 11 to 42, but with the two chain rings, there's just a lot more range for spinning and riding at those higher speeds without kind of beating eggs, so to speak. So I'm going to hop on, and I'll be in the highest level of assist. I love that this motor supports higher RPM cadence, so I was able to hit probably higher than 120 pedal strokes per minute before the motor faded at the beginning, and then you heard me shift through a whole bunch of gears, and I'm not even in the highest gear. Okay guys, you're on part of the rear swing arm, and I was hoping to show you suspension and also just get an up-close view of the chain rings and hearing how that motor works. It's going to be a little bit more pronounced here because you're mounted to the frame. I'm just going to go over some bumps and stuff. guys, it's been a whole lot of fun riding around with Fernando and getting to see the sights.
Guys again.
Yeah, dude, is this a bike that you ride a lot, man?
I don't ride that bike a lot just because it's a class 3. I don't like to take it to the trails.
Trails and stuff, yeah.
You know, you need to give an example if you are in this industry.
That's right. You know, and it's funny, we talk about this a little bit because I actually use a full suspension mountain bike as my daily, like, commuter. Just because I love suspension. I love the comfort and just the style of these bikes. So I could see this being like a commuter for me. There are no rack bosses. It's not like quite as utility oriented that way. But now with the lights and stuff, I mean, it's safer and, you know, it's neat. We talked about like the off-road situations, private property or OHV trails.
Yeah, it works for both. For people who wants to have a bike that can do everything, this is the bike, you know.
Yeah.
Particularly me, I have access to all the bikes, so, you know, I always get like a class 1. But yeah, some people have complained that the class 1 going with the traffic, it feels a little bit unsafe.
Keeping up with cars and stuff. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. And again, based on how you ride, e-bikes have become more widely accepted. We see people out here, they're like, cool bike, you know. It's not like, oh man, what's gonna happen? I mean, look, there's like no one's even really out here. So if you're someone maybe like me with knee sensitivity and this bike can get you to the trail and then you can do some riding, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, you guys. I've measured standover height, minimum saddle height, length, width, everything, all the specs. I do my best on camera just to kind of remember it and to be your friend and like share what's going through my mind. It's a privilege to be here. I appreciate it. Have fun out there, ride safe, and we'll see you in the forums. I'll try to answer your comments. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Sweet.